There's the power supply back into the to the plinth. No problem with those resistors either. This is where the resistors used to be, just here, as you can see, and now they're on the other side of the board. There's loads of clearance. You can see there's no problem at all with clearance to the underside of this deck. There's this bracket that runs across the length or the width of the turntable that supports the main bearing. It's the main bearing in the centre here. I've also put a VDR in here, voltage dependent resistor, which is a 47 ohm, will act as a surge arrestor. Didn't change that rectifier. It tests perfectly okay. No need to change that. I did add an additional capacitor, as I mentioned on the circuit. I've got the circuit here, but I actually put the capacitor where I showed you on the previous video. If you go back to that other video, there's a 1 meg resistor that goes to the flip-flop. I put the 1 microfarad capacitor across that point, so that on the back of the board. I don't think you can see that, and that's made the switch operation much nicer. I'll show you that in a moment. The motor's been turned around the other way. I explained the reason why I've done this in the previous video. It's basically to put, if this is just a sort of frost the bronze bush, it'll allow wear to become more even on the bush itself in the motor. It should make the motor last a little bit longer. So it's all back together again. The audio leads connected to the back bottom of the tone arm. The suspension probably will need setting up by a professional. These are supposed to be set up so they spring evenly and that the whole thing jiggles about without going offset and wobbly. I'll show you that in a minute when I get the turntable, the platter on it, the outer platter on it. So that's the electronic side. Yeah, be careful with these. It's easy to get blasé. It's plugged in at the moment, but it's turned off, but all this is live. So I think what I will do, actually, because I've got my hands poking around, I'll pull the plug out. Interestingly enough, and I had to laugh a bit, I don't know, people who know Linn products, they in the owner manual, it says about mains plug, they recommend that you buy an MK plug because they're better quality. Of course, because the mains plug will affect the sound quality, won't it? So that's the next step will be I want to change the oil in this bearing. There's two types of bearing. This is an earlier type of bearing that uses. We can either use, you hear conflicting data, but you can either use a mineral-based oil, a light mineral-based oil, or you can use, and some people say you can't, some people say you can. You can use a black oil that Linn supply, and Linn call it their black oil. And what the hell that is? I think it's probably just graphite oil. Anyway, I've got some of that. That's what it had in originally, so that's what I'm going to replace it with. And then, so I'll do that. We'll clean out the sump of this, clean out the oil. The oil that just sits in the bottom. Torch you see to the bottom of the bearing. Hopefully, we'll find the bearing. Where are we there? It's hard to get the light in the right place so you can see, but yeah, it won't really focus, but so I can see the bottom of the bearing and it all looks nice and clean in there. So I'm going to replace the oil in that as per the instructions, and then we'll get on to aligning the pulley so the belt tracks centrally to the pulley. And I don't know if you can see, but the pulley isn't flat. It's got a slightly sort of like bulges slightly to the outer side, and that also gives you fine adjustment to the motor speed. Now you also see these two screws that look like they haven't been done up. Well, they're actually tilt screws. The main motor screw is this one here, and the one behind it. You tighten those up, but they're on like olives sort of thing. And when you twist one screw, it twists the motor sort of left and right. So what you don't do is you don't tighten that one up and then tighten that one up as well. If you want to twist the motor, you have to tighten one up until it pushes the motor and back that one off. So if I do one turn in there, I need to do one turn out there. So they're not fighting each other, because all it will do is just force the motor down and bend the bracket, which it actually done. Funny enough, when I took the motor out, it was a bit bent. So let's get the oil changed, and then we'll move on to aligning the belt and things. Okay, as per instructions, it says clean out the sump of the bearing. What it suggests is you either tip the the turntable upside down, or you just get a piece of paper and just sort of make a sort of wick and just wick out any of the crap that's in there, which would be like probably won't be any crap, to be honest with you. I mean, all the time this is closed off, but it will be black because the oil was black, so don't be alarmed if you get a load of black oil out. So we clean that out. Just make sure that's all out. Pretty clean. Now the instructions are, we've got some, shake the bottle before use vigorously, so we give that a good shake. And it says stay stew. Wrap a piece of paper around the outer aperture and take care that no lint falls into the bearing housing. That's funny when I've just cleaned it out. So I'm giving the oil bottle a shake up. Let me get a bit of tissue. I don't think we need as much as that, to be honest with you. Okay, that will do. Okay, so we need to empty most of the bottle of oil into the bearing housing. Leave a small amount in the bottle. Okay, so shaking that up. I think it's pretty well shaken up. Dropping that in. Now you're supposed to know there's any left in the bottle because it's so... Oh, okay, yeah, there's a little bit left in the bottle. And then it says, carefully insert the inner platter, spin until the bearing housing... carefully insert the inner platter spindle into the bearing housing and spin for 30 seconds by hand. Okay, so this is the inner bearing. Let's just bring this up a bit, or widen this out a bit so you can see clearer. So this is the inner platter. I'm going to leave the tissue there. You just carefully lower that down, and you'll see it will just sit on the oil. And this is typical of a sort of a platter like this or a turntable like this. It will sit on its oil cushion because the bearing's such a tight fit. It will take a while for it to sink down. We just need to wait for that to get down to its lowest position. So we're just going to wait for that to sink, and it usually takes probably a couple of minutes before that but we need to wait for it to drop all the way down. So it shows that the bearing's pretty good because it's taking a long time to come down. What of course it will possibly be doing is if there's too much excess oil in there, it will be pushing it out over the rag, and that's the purpose of the tissue. So we're just going to wait for that to sink down. I'm going to get some more tissue. Okay, it's taking its time, which is reassuring. Give it a bit of a push and a bit of a twist. It's starting to go, I think. We're almost there now. Just applying a bit of pressure and twisting it to try and migrate any excess oil out. I think we're probably still a bit high. It's starting to sit a bit low now. Let's just remove it, see how much oil we've got. Haven't lost any. There is a bit on around the top, so it looks like the quantity of oil is probably about right. Okay, so we just need to now wait for that to sink, which might take a couple of minutes. And once that's done, I'm going to start assembling the bottom of the turntable. Right, I've got the bottom of the turntable on, and now what I've done is I've put the platter connected up to the belt and the motor and leaving it to run, so it's allowing the platter to sink to its at least proper height with the outer platter on. And you can see that the belt's running centrally to the pulley, which is exactly what we want, and you can see it's not touching this guard here, this sort of travel limit guard, so that's running nicely. the motor is now totally silent, it makes no noise at all, whereas before it was making that shushing noise. So that's good, the alignment's correct there. Next thing we'll do is we'll put the outer platter on and run it up, and we'll check our speed with the strobe that I've just printed on the internet. Just a simple strobe, you can buy them, but you can print them out as well. I've just laminated this strobe. So we'll what we also need to do, if you're using one of these at home and you haven't got any a 50 hertz or 60 hertz strobe light, you need to use a bulb with a little persistence. I'm using an incandescent bulb here. We were using some LED bulbs in the house, and of course they don't operate 50 hertz, so you won't see anything on the display. You need a traditional bulb really that will have show you the 50 hertz. And we'll set that up on the turntable now. Now this seems to have all settled down. It's tracking perfectly, exactly what I wanted. So let's put the outer platter on. That's the outer platter on. So let's pop our strobe on the top. Now I will show you this power switch now, so you can see the difference. Anyone who knows or owns a Linn knows that if you give the Valhalla a quick poke, it will switch on. I've disabled that. It was prone to switching itself on power surges and things. Now, bear in mind this is a bit of a sort of basic or early design of power supply. The later ones apparently are much better. So we put that capacitor I keep harping on about across the flip-flop. So this is our delay now, and I'll show you. You press start, and it starts. And to stop it, you same sort of delay, about half a second. And it's nice, I like that. So that's sorted that problem out. So let's have a look at our strobe. Now hopefully you can see this with the camera. But we're looking at the outer ring. Hopefully you can see that we're looking for a stationary strobe. It's not that clear. I'm going to find the best place for you to see it. Probably here. So we're looking for that outer ring to be stationary, or as stationary as possible. And you can see it's moving possibly very slightly to the left, but that's very good. That's you can adjust, as I say, the speed slightly with that the rocking of the motor, but I don't think I'm going to bother with that. That looks pretty good. I'm assuming, of course, also that the mains frequency is exactly at 50 hertz. It might not be. They might be running slightly faster or slightly slower, but that's pretty close, I would say. So I'm happy with the speed of the turntable. Next I'll move on to checking the cartridge alignment. Okay, one of the most important alignments of the turntable is the overhang adjustment. And basically what this does is it checks that the stylus is tracking parallel to the record on the inner and the outer axis of the turntable. So at the moment I'm on the inner axis, and this is the stylus is along that horizontal line there that goes into the spindle. And then the cartridge body should be square, as you see with that protractor there, to those lines, which looks pretty good to from here. So the next thing we do is I move it along to the other side of the turntable. Just use the cueing lever. It's a bit delicate because this table I'm working on isn't exactly very sturdy, so it's jumping around a little bit, so I'm being a bit careful. And unfortunately the turntable mat isn't totally flat, so it's sinking there in the middle, as you can see. But get this in the right position. Looks good there. Checking again. Looks pretty good from here. There's a bit more light on it. Torch is packed up. Come on, stupid thing. Wait for the torch to work. Let's get the torch going. Okay. And you see that's horizontal as well. That's square to the graticule as well. So that's what you do. You adjust the inner one and the outer one, and what you do is you adjust the overhang of the cartridge, i.e. you move the cartridge backwards and forwards along the arm. You don't twist it. It's got to be parallel, but you've got to bring it backwards and forwards to get it square and get the alignment correct. Okay, there's one remaining adjustment you need to do. God, this camera's so slow on colour balance. I mean, it's one adjustment you need to do, and I'll set that up and show you. Right, the final adjustment is relatively straightforward. You set your tracking weight of your stylus to the manufacturer's recommendations. You can go up or down a little bit, and the manufacturer's recommendation for this Ultimate Blue is 1.8 grams. I tend to find this turntable does sound a little bit shrill with this cartridge to my ears. I'm maybe not using the best amplifier in the world, and also I did notice that the alignment was slightly out, and I've readjusted it. But the final tracking is the VTA, vertical tracking angle, and that angle is basically what you want the terminal arm to be absolutely parallel to the record. And you probably can't see here because the cartridge is the camera is slightly higher than the turntable itself, but to me, from eye, that looks almost perfect. Maybe slightly high at the back of the tone arm. This part might be slightly high. Now that's adjustable on this particular arm with loosening this Allen bolt off here. You probably can't see because it's black, and adjusting the height of the arm up and down. So I'm going to leave that. That looks pretty good. So basically, I'm happy with the alignment of the whole turntable now. That should work fine. The only other one other adjustment that sort of goes with the obvious one of adjusting the tracking weight is the anti-skate mechanism. And this is the anti-skate mechanism. What it does is, when the record is running, it's got a tendency for the cartridge to try and swing into the inside of the record, and the higher the tracking weight, the more likely it is to swing in towards the centre. So if you had no anti-skate on, and you can actually demonstrate it if you've got an old knackered record you don't want, put the stylus guard on it and just drop it on the record, and you'll find it will just skate off into the centre. So what this does is it puts a biasing force on the arm to bring the tone arm back out, and basically all we do is we set that to the tracking weight that we've set our cartridge to, 1.8 grams. So that's simple. There's different mechanisms on SME arms. They have a bridge across here with a little weight that you always used to look nice, and just had a little weight that used to pull over, and if you wanted more force put on it, you just moved it over the next bar along. It just applied more pressure to the side of the arm. So that's basically the turntable set up. As I say, you can adjust tracking weight within probably half a gram, 3/4 of a gram, plus or minus. It's best not to go too far below the manufacturer's recommended tracking weight, because you'll find you'll start to get distortion, and it will sound a bit, it might sound a bit sort of sharp and a bit unpleasant. Increasing the tracking tends to sort of make the record sound more a warmer sound, I suppose, and that's what I was probably going to try with this. I'm going to start with this 1.8 at the moment, and maybe raise it up to 2.2 just to see what I get. But I think 1.8 should be fine. Maybe now I've set this angle up a bit better. So apart from setting the turntable back up on the stereo system, I think that really sort of sums up this basic service for this Linn Sondek. As I say, it's a 1980 model, so this is probably the first proper service, or I imagine it's the first proper service it's had in about 38 years. So, but it's in lovely condition, as you can see. I'm very pleased with how this has gone. I just hope it's going to last another 38 years. So let's get it onto the stereo system and see if I can find some music that's not going to be copyrighted.